All right, welcome. For today's video, I'm going to be commissioning 3 ESXi hosts into my management domain so that I can later on create a new workload domain. These hosts are already provisioned with ESXi 9.0.1, and I've already performed some minimal configurations. I'll kind of run through those right now. This here is the host UI view. I've already configured a NTP server and ensure that service is started and stopped with the host. It has 2 physical NICs on it that are active. However, only a single one is connected to the switch. And then I've got DNS forward and reverse. I plan on doing vSAN ESA. So I've got my physical disks for vSAN formatted. So there they are here. And that's pretty much it. I might be missing a couple of things, but there's a slew of requirements in there for you to, documentation to review. So this is an example of one of the hosts. We've got everything installed. So I will move over to VCF operations just for a moment, just to show you under inventory and our VCF instance here, we have an option to add a new workload domain. And if I click create new, it's got some prerequisites. Now, this does have additional prerequisites such as commissioning these ESXi hosts into our management domain vCenter, which is what we're going to jump to and do. So let's go ahead and go into our vCenter, our management domain vCenter. And from our settings, we're going to go to global inventory lists, hosts, and it's nestled in this section here. Previously in VCF 5.x days, it was this would be performed through the SCDC manager. So we're going to click commission hosts. That similar checklist that's come up in previous versions of VCF. We'll just go with all is good. Now I can manually add these hosts in one by one and select their purpose and the network pool. Or I can just import a JSON file, which I've already prepared because it's got the password, storage type, the host FQDNs, and what network pool it's going to use. For me, I already have a network pool that had enough ranges in during my management domain deployment, so I'm just going to go off of that one. So I'm going to select the import option, locate my JSON, and then upload. Go ahead and confirm all fingerprints, select all the hosts, validate all. Okay, so all 3 hosts validated successfully. Let's go ahead and proceed. Now we've got a review of the storage type and the network pool it's going to be using. So we'll just go ahead and click commission, and these should load up the hosts as unassigned hosts in the management domain. And if we jump over to the host for a second, you'll see there's activities taking place on one of the hosts. And we've got a task here in the vCenter running. And let's see if we just happen to have any tasks running in our VCF operations instance. Okay, we actually have a commissioning hosts task as well taking place in VCF operations. So that's good. But we can monitor either or. We'll probably get some granular details in here. Break it down to see task info. All right, so my task's completed, and under unassigned hosts, you now see 3 hosts that I just imported. Now, I can choose what I'd like to do with these, such as I can create a secondary cluster. Should be able to create a secondary cluster that's managed under VCF in my management domain. I can deploy an additional workload domain, and so on and so forth. So you can see all the details here. The domain name is unassigned. There's nothing assigned to it right now. All flash, ESA as I selected, the number of physical NICs on the host, although I'm only using 2. And then if there's DPU back. And of course, I can always come in here and decommission a host. So that's fine too. But now that it's in here, I can jump over to VCF operations, and let's go over to inventory, our org, and we're going to go add a workload domain. And let's see where it takes us. Okay, so we'll call this, I'll create just a name for this. I'm not going to enable vSphere Supervisor, however, that is an option, of course. Get your container environment going. I've got some passwords myself to use. Okay, let's put those passwords in. And then there's our next field. Sometimes I will say clicking through these fields as you populate them will bring up that next one. So it is interesting. So this one here, I have a vCenter name for it. And we do want the full FQDN. All right, so the vCenter that we want to also, that we're using is going to be part of the same network. That's going to be part of the VM management network and VM traffic network, however you want to call it. But once you put in the FQDN of that vCenter, it should automatically populate and then validate that way. So cluster name, we'll just call it some random name I created. We're going to extract the image that's already part of it. And then this is where we're going to deploy the NSX manager. And with the NSX manager, there's quite a bit to fill out here. However, I'm going to be doing a standard deployment. I don't want to deploy high availability, which standard will deploy a single NSX manager, single appliance, whereas high availability will deploy 3. So I will go through and fill this stuff out. I'm going to do a medium. FQDN would be, this actually should be, now this is going to be for FQDN for the appliance name. We will have to apply a cluster VIP, which I have similar to this. I'm just going to remove the A and my VIP IP populated. So I've got my IP address for my manager and as well as my VIP. And then it's always good to have something else, other IPs reserved. So we've got our NSX details in here. I will be skipping this last part due to how new it is, and it's not complexity, but very new and more to read. But I will just keep it simple for the sake of this demo. And I will keep it at centralized connectivity, which will require me later on in the vCenter. I can set up VPCs and deploy some edge nodes for that. So I'll just keep it there for now. Storage is going to be vSAN, and we're enabling vSAN ESA. We're going to do vSAN HCI, local vSAN store, keeping everything default here. Okay, now I get to select my hosts. Please ensure physical NICs should be connected and active. So let's go ahead and click next here. Now we're going to go to our VDS configuration. So let's see what this says about the 2 physical network adapters. Okay, thank you for doing that. And I'm just going to go ahead and select the default configuration. And then there's a little yellow banner, as you can see here, for the transport VLAN. This is going to be for the NSX side to configure the TEPs. We'll come over there, as you can see, MTU, which are the physical NICs being used. And I'm going to populate transport VLAN. Excellent. DHCP is fine. Click Save Changes. And now that we have this, we will have to say, acknowledge that we did that. And then continue. And then what we have here is our summary of everything that's going to be getting configured. We have a JSON preview. We can also download that JSON for whatever reason in the future we want to deploy this via an API, right? Or any other automation. So let's go ahead and click Finish. Wait for the task to appear. Okay. So it's automatically telling us this. So it wants to take us straight to the task. And we can come over here and just kind of monitor it from here. There's my Here's our creating a workload domain, and there's all these tasks that are now successful so far and pending, and what's running. Okay, so we ran into our first error, and that error here is fetching a product image where it's unable to get the actual installed image of vCenter 9.0.1, and this is something we'll have to resolve in our product logger from what it says. And the reason for this is because when deploying a VI workload domain, it needs essentially just deploying a brand new vCenter. And when this vCenter was deployed, it was 9.0, and then later on it was upgraded to 9.0.1. So let's take a look in lifecycle here, and we'll check our management. So under VCF instance, let's go to binary management, and we have, it wouldn't be upgrade, it would be install binary. And let's look for, see if there's a 9.0.1, and there sure is. So what we'll have to do is select that image there, and we're just going to click download, wait for that download to complete, and then come back and restart that task. Hopefully it lets us continue fine, but we'll see. Okay, so if we take a look at our downloads, it finally completed. So let's go over to our tasks, and let's restart the task, although this bundle is still showing running. There it is, the refresh took care of it. So let's do restart task here. And what it should do is validate workload domain state. Okay, cool. So we'll continue to monitor. So just briefly checking in, and you can see it's in the middle of deploying the vCenter server appliance. So what I do is come over to my management domain vCenter, and I've got another appliance there for my newly provisioned workload domain. And this is key because you've got all these management components for your data center that are centrally managed within its own vCenter. So we will go ahead and continue to monitor, but just for you to know, you can come in here and just kind of, out of curiosity, if you want to bring up the console, just monitor what's going on. But we will definitely continue to monitor the tasks here. All right, we come back to our tasks. Everything's completed. Let's see what our inventory looks like. If we browse out, expand our Athens org, we can see there's a VI domain here. And it's possible that we just might have to do a sync here, but we still have our management domain and our workload domain is here. And then we can see a vCenter spun up with our 3 hosts in there. We have our NSX manager, which has prepped our 3 hosts. We jump over to our management vCenter, we'll see that we've got our NSX manager in here, and we've got our workload domain vCenter in here in that management domain vCenter. And if we come over to global inventory lists and check out hosts, we've got assigned hosts here, and what I thought would possibly appear all here. But let's take a look in workload. They're probably going to be all in workload. So, and yes, there they are. So this way, in the event we needed to present more hosts, we'll manage them in our management domain, but they would get assigned to creating a cluster from within here, and I'll see if I can create something there. So let me refresh operations. So what this should show is it'll eventually populate, and we should be able to do a sync inventory here. And oh, look at that. So we've got some accounts here to maybe some further work that needs to be done. Let's see what it is. So if we expand our adapter here, let's click configure. Now, a lot of this should have already been done, but let's just see what happens here. Okay, vSAN's activated, that's good. NSX, we don't need service discovery right now. So we'll go ahead and let's validate the connection. And it's possible that VCF operations has taken its time to gather, not just sync the inventory, but gather all the object data in. But we'll go ahead and save this. But essentially now we've got a workload domain deployed with an additional vCenter and everything that we can manage and lifecycle all within a single VCF operations UI console. So I hope that was helpful. Hopefully that experience enables you guys to go out there and do this in your own lab or your own environments. Please share any feedback, comments. Always open to that. Check out my website, please, at kizron.com. And then like and subscribe as always. Have a good one.